Day 65. An exciting day because we have a guest who I just love every time I get to speak with you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
And we are going to go meta today and do a not advice, answering your questions about work, about advice itself. Because you, as the founder of a company, and I'll give you a minute to talk about the crew at the end, and we'll talk about what's going on in the world at the end for people to stick in. But a founder dilemma is like you get advice constantly. It's a parent dilemma too. You're thinking about starting a company, you get advice. So the question that I would like to ask you is, how do you decide who you actually take advice from?
It's such a great question. So full disclosure, I'm someone who is the cumulative investment of a lot of people who have given me a lot of great advice. I love asking for it. In fact, my youngest sister says that I'm quite boring because I never want to learn a lesson myself. I'm very happy to just get advice from other people. So I've received a lot of advice and I've also given a lot of advice. In terms of
you're less bashful than I am, which I respect about you.
Very much so. I mean, I'm the founder of something called The Crew. So
I know.
I believe that.
I definitely feel safe every time I hear the company's name.
Yes. I feel like all of us are in a leadership journey that's a team sport, not a solo endeavor. So that's why I think advice is really important. But I think the first thing is to really be cognizant and to be mindful of whether or not you really need advice or if you need something else. Because advice is really explicit guidance or recommendations about your decision making and the ensuing actions that you need to take. I would say half of the people who come to me for advice, whether it's because I'm an entrepreneur, a founder, because I'm an author, because I care deeply about advancing women and girls, I'd say half of them really need affirmation. They say they're coming for advice, but they're really looking for is affirmation.
In my case, it's money. They come to us with this trick of like, if you want money, ask for advice. It's like, I know the fucking trick. Like you can put the cup back the other way, you know?
Exactly. Basically, they want affirmation. They've already either decided what they're going to do, or deep down inside, they know what they should do, or deep down inside, they know what they want to do. They just really are looking for some kind of confirmation of their good judgment, combined with some encouragement. So the first thing I always kind of try to figure out is, am I giving this person a pep talk or am I really giving this person advice?
So well put.
If you decide that you do need advice, meaning that you have not made a decision genuinely, honestly, and you really do need some explicit guidance or encouragement, I think it's important, one, to go to multiple people for advice, never to take advice from just one person. And I think there are different types of people that you should be asking advice from. I think you definitely need what I would call a sage. So someone who is very seasoned or experienced in whatever area you need advice from. When my husband asked me to marry him, I said, "Oh, honey, I think that's great." But he was like, "I know, you have to go get advice." Like, yes. And I went to 4 women who had been married, each of them for over a couple of decades, to find out like whether or not they felt like this was a good idea.
A lot of heartbreak.
It turned out okay. The second type of person I think is important to get advice from are people who can be helpful with the execution. So this is where you come in, actually, Roy, and the comment that you made, because I actually do think that it's good to get advice from people who, when it's time to execute, can support. So yes, if you need to raise capital,
you're getting them involved.
It's kind of good to get advice from the people who you're going to need along the way. I think it's also good to get advice from people who know you really well. And in different contexts, who can kind of tell you your truth about yourself. So not just friends, maybe someone who you've worked with before, who, people who know you in different contexts. And then finally, I think far fewer of us get advice from what I would call my crew, or people who do care about you, but are not invested in your decision-making at all. People who have a level of objectivity about it, what you decide is not going to have a huge impact or really any on their life.
I want to just stop you for a second there, because I'm going to ask a question about what you just said, but I want to let you talk about how the Crew as a service helps do that. So this is the staged moment for your public service announcement.
Oh, you're so awesome. The Crew matches circles of women who collaborate to meet their life goals. So it's the perfect context. And actually, one of the highest values that our crew members say they really appreciate is that my crew is a group of people who care about me but aren't invested in my decision making. They really value that.
So one of the things that I see happening, I've heard ask multiple people. I've never heard anybody sort of so explicitly typecast these different roles. And I love that arrangement. Sorry, did I interrupt you? Did I miss anybody? So one of the things then that happens is founders say, but they all disagreed with each other.
So here's the thing. Everyone says something that's in common with someone else in some way, shape, or form. Okay, so in getting advice, you're going to have to learn how to separate what is for you and what has to do with their relationship with their mother or something that they did not, that they never reconciled. And so that's the reason why it's great to go to multiple people so that you can do some pattern matching about what they all have to say. So for example, when I asked those 4 women about getting married, they all had different things to say. But the one thing that they all said that was in common, interestingly enough, was we think it's a great idea, but wait to have children. All 4, and by the way, all 4 of them got married and had children right away.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, wow,
the advice is autobiographical thing where they're getting you to vicariously live a part of their life that they wish they'd lived differently.
That's it. But it came from all 4 of them separately. Yeah. So that's something to really think about.
I love thinking about their motivation. Okay, that was awesome. Thank you for giving us a little snapshot. We can elaborate more in times to come. Just one quick question, since you're based in New York and we literally have a sepia-toned Blade Runner apocalypse out here in San Francisco, the question of where founders should be is alive right now. You've been in a bunch of places. You work with investors in San Francisco and New York and other places. Any wisdom for everyone on if you were going to start something, where you should start?
Listen, if you're starting something, it means you're in it 24/7. It's your life's work. I think you need to be located at whatever place is going to help you to live your best life and
do you, in other words.
Exactly. Whatever is going to give you the highest quality of life so that you can get up every day and do this thing that we
live
call
where
building.
You'll be full.
That's it. That's
all right,
it.
we're going to wrap. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Very special, Tiffany, to have you here.
Thank you.
We're here every weekday and sharing our perspectives. If you have other questions, this week we're talking about things around starting a company, which is something that we love to think about as investors.